One time, we successfully mated a bulldog with a Shih Tzu.
Really? That's weird.
Yeah, we called it a bullshit.
Okay, is this guy just making it up as he goes? Yep. Is it all BS? Yep. Here's Big Nate with some more BS, because it's BSing with Big Nate.
That was Almost Gone out of Richmond, Virginia with Parasite. And you know what it is, BSing with Big Nate. I am, of course, joined by Nick. And this time I do want to note, Nick, the past few times I've interviewed him, has a habit of being in a truck. It looks like he is actually stationary in a place that's not a truck today. So, Nick, I'm glad you were able to get a little bit of downtime to talk to me.
Yeah, thank you. I was able to move out of my mobile office/home, which is my Toyota Tundra.
I mean, how many miles you got on that thing?
52.
That's not too bad. All right. I really just bring that up to point out that Nick is an incredibly driven individual who has a lot going on all the time. I want to talk about this track. I want to talk about this video. We're going to start with the track There's a very real, authentic punk rock feel to it. I think when you first sent it to me, I sent you a message, and I can't remember who I compared it to. I definitely think there was some Fugazi influences in there, but the way it starts from the counting into the drums and then the bass line, like it sent like my hair on my arm raised. So what all do you pull out from this track?
Well, we wrote Parasite in 2019 and recorded it last year, and we released it last Friday. So I don't know, like, the number of times I've played Parasite, like in rehearsal and studios and stuff, is, I don't know, a stupid amount of times. But like when we were writing music back then, we didn't really think about direction at all. We didn't think like, let's write a punk rock song, let's write a classic rock song, let's write a country. Not that we write country songs, but like we didn't think about it in those terms. We just kind of came up with something and rolled with it. So Zach came up with that bass line, the da-na, da-na, na, 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 and we just built on it. And the concept behind the song, I tend to write most of the lyrics for the band, and the premise of the song is it's kind of like, I guess, a decry against a person who has a tendency to, like, as my folks used to say, chop off the head of somebody else to make themselves feel taller. In other words, like, put somebody down to pick themselves up. So it's kind of like a unintentional, like, I guess almost like rallying cry.
No, and I definitely get that feeling that there's, oh, you know what? I just hit the nail on the head as to what it feels like. Because Fugazi was one, and then I couldn't figure out what the other one was. And in you saying that, there's a song by Pennywise. It's called Brohim. That's the other one that it feels like to me. Because it does. I mean, it gets you pumped up. There's definitely a very, and it's not necessarily that the content's horribly uplifting, but it's just the way it hits you is just, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the idea. Like, I listened to a ton of Linkin Park growing up, and I can't think of a single, like, at least the stuff I was listening to, which was the early stuff, I can't think of a single, like, happy Linkin Park song. It's all angry and angst and yelling, and I loved it. It's like, you know, it's like you were saying, it's like energizing, even though they're really melancholy and angry themes. And that's kind of what Parasite is. Like, that's, I mean, like I said, we didn't have much of an intention behind it, but now that I'm listening to it, like, that's kind of what I hope people take away from it, is that just like, yeah, feeling, but they're not quite sure what against, but they're like jazzed up and, you know, I don't want to say pissed off, but they just feel like fired up by it.
To me, that track's either a show opener or a show closer. It definitely gets the juices flowing. It just depends on how you want to set the show up. I want to talk about the video a bit as well, which if you haven't watched it yet, we're going to pause this and I need you to go over to Almost Gone's YouTube page, hit that subscribe button, and then check out the video for Parasite, and then come back. All right, so now you're back. And first and foremost, is that your rehearsal space?
Yeah, it is. We call that we like to call that Area 51.
I like that there's a lot going on in the video. First of all, is the ceiling tall enough for Zach?
Barely. He has to kind of stand like this sometimes.
Like,
and hunch over and headbang.
Like, I noticed he was center most of the time, so I just assumed it had like arched ceilings, but I love the rawness. I think it really fits the track, how cramped and compact everything was. And I don't know if that's what you guys are dealing with all the time, but it definitely contributes and helps capture that raw feeling. And I don't know when you filmed it. I'm assuming probably fairly recently.
We filmed that in December of 19.
December of 19. All right. So I like the closeness of it, the rawness, but I also like to have, because we're at a point where we don't have shows, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I like the fact that you guys are able to, you know, kind of capture that rawness, and it felt like a show. It does feel like a show, even though you're hanging out in the rehearsal space, just kind of jamming out. So what was the decision behind just kind of doing that raw?
Well, we were trying to decide on places to shoot it. We thought about shooting it at some of the venues around Richmond where we know the owner, and we figured they'd be cool with us coming in on like a early on a Saturday or something like that and shooting. And we also had other concepts for the video. One of the ideas was coming into the rehearsal space with all our work clothes on. Like we just had like dirty, like I said, I do construction, so dirty, like you're pissed off, you had a hard day, taking your hat and throwing it on the ground and picking up the guitar and jamming. We talked about concepts like that, and we decided just to go with taking our lights, our colored LED lights we use for shows, and taking our fog machine and just going with that. Just going kind of like you were saying. I don't think we actually used the word raw, but that's really what we were going for. Just like a no, almost like that punk rock vibe, like almost like we're not gonna create a storyline to go with it. It's just kind of up to the person watching the video to like pick up on what the message is we're trying to send.
No, I love it. I think it came out very, it hits that DIY raw mentality. And I think if it had been dropped into any number of, you had that period in the late 70s and the 80s when record labels were trying to get their hands on everything punk. That very easily could have been dropped on any number of bands' records. And it's a very well produced, for it being punk. That's not to detract from you guys. See, now I'm getting myself into a little bit of a pigeonhole here. What I'm trying to express here is you very much captured the feeling and kept that DIY raw mentality, but you didn't sacrifice the musicality. Because, like I was saying, what I like about the track is that it builds. And I think that's kind of an element. You kind of get all the pieces and then the ingredients all come together. So I think you've just got the full package here. And it's something that I think a lot of people are going to be clamoring to hear more like that.
Yeah, thanks. It's the lyrics are incredibly simple. Again, we wrote this in 19, and God, when we wrote this, we were banned for maybe 3 or 4 months by that point. Now we've been together for 2 years. But, I like to think I've grown as a lyricist, but, at the time I was writing just like when I play that riff, what goes through my head? Like, you're just a parasite. You take out their lives with your words in your mind. And it's looking back, I'm kind of glad they're so simple because they're so like easy to sing along with. And there's a lot of haze in there, a lot of, hey, that's another thing that's really easy to just pump your fist in the air and like yell along with. So as primitive as it is from a lyrical standpoint, I'm kind of glad it's like that.
Now, I think there's a certain therapeutic element to that too. And I think it captures that. If you look at bands throughout history, most of the songs that people are singing along to, chanting along to, pumping their fists along to, hit that like primordial instinct. Like it's just something like we're just chanting, yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey. So I think like you guys are really onto something here, and I'm really excited to hear what's next, which brings me to my next point. What's on the docket for Almost Gone?
So we've been doing just like everybody else, since shows are few and far between, and they're coming back, it looks like, but they're still few and far between. We've been doing a lot of networking, and we actually just found out we'll be on the bill for a show today. We found out May 1st, Harbor Blast, Prince George, Virginia. We just found out about that today. I don't know like any details. I don't know when we go on or anything. I heard through a band that's playing there, they said, hey, they want you to play Harbor Blast. So yeah, a small festival in Virginia coming up May 1st that we were stoked about. But, in addition to that, we've been spending a lot of time writing and spending time recording. So we spent Saturday in a studio recording the follow-up to the follow-up to Parasite. So we got 3 songs recorded, ready to be released at any point. I think you'll really like what comes after Parasite. It's the same vein of energetic, like easy to sing along with song with some attitude. It's a little bit more like I almost don't want to tell you because I don't want to like. I'm curious what you think the influences are on this, but it's a little bit more.
Don't tell me because that affects my whole perception. So
There
I
you
want to
go.
hear it, and then I will talk to you about it.
Okay, and then the ones after that are going to be another slightly different direction. But I mean, like when you write songs and you record them, I always think like you write a song, you record it, and you are so excited about that song you just recorded. You can't wait to release it. And then you go write and record the next one, and you're like way excited about that. And you're like that one we wrote and recorded before, that sucks. Like I don't even want to have to release that. I just want to release the one we have now. So we're kind of getting ourselves into a little bit of that. Like we've got the most recent song I think we're most excited about, and we think it's our best. I mean, every band will tell you that, but like our most recent stuff is our best. I mean, of course it is to you. You know, you're the one who just wrote it. But yeah, we have singles slated for release throughout this year. We're on pace to do one single like once every 6 to 8 weeks. And we're in addition to that, just we're on the prowl for shows because we deliberately stepped back from playing live for about 4 months. It just wasn't worth it. You couldn't have as many people there. And so if there's less people, there's less people buying beer and tickets and stuff. So that means the venue makes less. When the venue makes less, we make less. And it just gets to the point it's like, because you don't just show up and do a show. You got to practice for weeks. It's like, guys, is it worth this effort for this? What if we just dial it back and write songs? That way we can release stuff throughout 2021. And then in, the summer or whenever we can gig again, we'll be in good shape. So that's really what we've been focused on.
Well, there's a lot to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen. Follow Almost Gone on any platform you can. Again, subscribe to that YouTube. There's stuff to watch. And Nick, thank you once again for joining me on BSing with Big Nate.
Thank you, man. Always a pleasure.